The autumn wind whipped across the Montana plains as Clara Hartwell sat in her broken-down sedan on the side of Highway 89, staring at the eviction notice crumpled in her trembling hands. 3 days. That's all the time she had left before she and her 2 children would be homeless. The medical bills from her late husband David's cancer treatment had consumed their savings, and the life insurance money had barely covered the funeral costs. In the back seat, 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Tommy slept fitfully, unaware that their mother was fighting back tears of desperation. Clara had driven aimlessly for hours, trying to figure out where they could go, what they could do. Her parents were gone, David's family had never accepted her, and her few friends were struggling with their own problems. The sound of a truck pulling up behind her made Clara quickly wipe her eyes and check her appearance in the rearview mirror. A tall man in a cowboy hat approached her window, and she rolled it down cautiously. "Mom, are you having car trouble?" His voice was deep and gentle, with a slight western drawl. He appeared to be in his late 30s, with kind blue eyes and weathered hands that spoke of hard work. "No, just taking a break," Clara managed, trying to keep her voice steady. The man, who introduced himself as Tom McKenzie, didn't seem convinced. His gaze took in the packed car, the sleeping children, and Clara's obvious distress. "I don't mean to pry, but you look like you might need help. There's a diner about 5 miles up the road. Why don't you follow me there? Get the kids something warm to eat." Clara wanted to refuse. Pride was about all she had left, but Emma stirred in the back seat and mumbled something about being hungry. I don't have much money for food." "My treat," Tom said simply. No strings attached. Diggy. An hour later, Clara found herself in a booth at Murphy's Diner, watching her children devour pancakes and hot chocolate while Tom sat across from her, nursing a cup of coffee. He had an easy way with Emma and Tommy, asking about their favorite subjects in school and listening intently to their answers. "So," Tom said quietly when the children were distracted by coloring books the waitress had provided, "what's really going on?" Something about his genuine concern broke down Clara's defenses. The whole story came pouring out. David's illness, the mounting debts, the eviction notice, her complete lack of options. Tom listened without judgment, occasionally asking clarifying questions, but mostly just letting her talk. When she finished, Tom was quiet for a long moment, studying his coffee cup. Clara braced herself for polite sympathy and a quick exit, the usual response when people realized the extent of her problems. Instead, Tom looked up and said something that would change all their lives. "I need a wife, and you need a family." Clara stared at him, certain she had misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" "I have a ranch about 20 miles from here, 1,500 acres, good house, stable income. I lost my wife Rebecca to a riding accident 2 years ago, and I've been trying to manage everything alone. The ranch, the house, my 5-year-old son, Jake." Tom's voice was a matter of fact, as if he were discussing the weather. "It's not working. Jake needs a mother figure. I need help with the domestic side of things. And you need security for your children." Are you proposing to me?" Clara's voice came out as a whisper. "I'm proposing a practical arrangement," Tom clarified. "Marriage, yes, but based on mutual need rather than romance. You'd have a home, security, and your children would be safe and provided for. I'd have help running the household and someone to care for Jake." Clara felt dizzy. "But we don't even know each other." "We know enough. You're clearly a devoted mother who's willing to do anything for her children. You're intelligent, responsible, and from what I can see, you'd fit well into ranch life. I'm offering stability, respect, and a chance for all of us to build something good together." "What about expectations?" Clara asked, her cheeks burning. Tom's expression remained serious but kind. "Separate bedrooms, until and unless we both decide otherwise. No pressure, no assumptions. Just 2 adults helping each other through difficult circumstances." Emma looked up from her coloring book. "Mommy, are we going to live on a ranch? Can I have a horse?" Tom smiled at the little girl. "We have several horses, Emma, and if your mom agrees, I'd be happy to teach you to ride." That evening, Clara stood on the porch of the McKenzie ranch house, watching her children play in the yard with Jake, a serious little boy with his father's blue eyes and his late mother's dark hair. The house was beautiful, a sprawling log structure with modern amenities and stunning views of the surrounding mountains. "It's a lot to take in," Tom said, joining her on the porch. "It's incredible. But Tom, I have to ask, why me? You could have your pick of women. Why would you choose a widow with 2 children and a mountain of debt?" Tom was quiet for a moment, watching the children. "Because you understand loss. Because you're not looking for fairy tale romance. You're looking for partnership. And because I can see how much you love your children, that tells me everything I need to know about your character. What would people think? A marriage of convenience in this day and age? People will think what they want to think regardless. What matters is whether this arrangement works for our families." Clara studied Tom's profile in the fading light. He was undeniably attractive, but more than that, he radiated a calm strength that made her feel safe for the first time in months. "What about your son? How do you know he'll accept us?" As if summoned by her question, Jake appeared at Tom's side. "Dad, Emma says she's never seen a real cow. Can we show them the cattle tomorrow?" "That depends on whether they're staying, son." Jake looked up at Clara with serious eyes. "Are you going to be my new mom?" The simple question from this motherless child broke Clara's heart. "Would you like me to be?" Jake nodded solemnly. "I think Mom would like you. She always said the house was too quiet." That night, after putting the children to bed in rooms that Tom had hastily prepared, Clara sat in the kitchen, going over the practical details of Tom's proposal. He had been thorough. She would have access to household accounts. Her children would be enrolled in the local school, and he would help her deal with her existing debts. "There's one more thing," Tom said, sliding a document across the table. "I've had my lawyer draw up a prenuptial agreement. It protects both of us, but it also ensures that if something happens to me, you and the children will be provided for." Clara read through the document, amazed by its fairness. Tom was essentially offering her financial security with no guarantee of anything in return, except her help running his household. "Why are you being so generous?" "Because I remember what it felt like to be desperate and alone. After Rebecca died, I went through a dark period where I couldn't see any way forward. If someone had offered me a lifeline then, I would have been grateful beyond words." "And you think this arrangement will work? Really?" Tom met her eyes steadily. "I think we're both practical people who understand that sometimes the best relationships are built on mutual respect and shared goals rather than passion. We can provide each other with what we need most. You need security, I need partnership. Everything else can develop naturally or not. There's no pressure either way." Clara looked around the warm, comfortable kitchen, then out the window at the vast expanse of ranch land. For the first time in months, she could envision a future that didn't involve constant worry about money, housing, or her children's welfare. When would this happen?" "As soon as you're ready. We could have a simple ceremony at the courthouse, or if you prefer something more traditional, we could arrange a small wedding here at the ranch. The children would need time to adjust." "Of course. We could start with you and the kids staying in the guest rooms, getting used to the routine. Marriage could come later when everyone's comfortable." Clara felt a weight lifting from her shoulders that she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. "Tom, this is incredibly generous, but what if it doesn't work out? What if we're incompatible? Then we'll figure it out like adults." "But Clara, I've been watching you with your children all day. You're exactly the kind of person I want helping me raise Jake. And from what I can see, this environment would be good for Emma and Tommy too." As Clara tucked her children into their new beds that night, Emma whispered, "Mummy, I like it here. Mr. Tom is nice and Jake showed me where the kittens live in the barn. Do you think you'd like to stay here for a while?" "Forever?" Emma's eyes were bright with hope. "Maybe. Would that make you happy?" "Yes, and Tommy likes it too. He said the horses are better than any toy." Later, as Clara lay in the comfortable guest bed, she reflected on the extraordinary turn her life had taken. This morning, she had been facing homelessness and despair. Tonight, she was considering a marriage proposal from a man she'd met 12 hours ago. It should have felt crazy, impulsive, dangerous. Instead, it felt like the first sensible thing that had happened to her in months. Tom McKenzie was offering her something precious, not just financial security, but the chance to be part of a family again, to have a purpose beyond mere survival. The arrangement might not be conventional, but it was honest. No false promises of love, no unrealistic expectations. Just two people agreeing to help each other build better lives for their children. As sleep finally claimed her, Clara made her decision. Tomorrow, she would tell Tom McKenzie yes. 3 weeks later, Clara stood in front of the bathroom mirror in what was now her home, adjusting the simple blue dress she had chosen for their courthouse wedding. It wasn't the wedding she had dreamed of as a young woman, but it felt right for who she was now, a practical woman making a practical choice for her family's future. The past weeks had been a whirlwind of adjustment. Emma and Tommy had settled into ranch life with the adaptability of children, delighting in the animals, the wide open spaces, and the novelty of having Jake as a constant playmate. Clara had thrown herself into learning the rhythms of the household, working alongside Tom to understand the ranch operations and her role in them. "You ready for this?" Tom asked, appearing in the doorway. He wore a simple dark suit that emphasized his tall frame and made his blue eyes even more striking. "As ready as I'll ever be," Clara replied, surprised by how calm she felt. The ceremony was brief and businesslike, attended only by Tom's foreman Miguel and his wife Rosa, who had offered to watch the children. Judge Henderson, a longtime friend of Tom's family, performed the service with warmth despite its practical nature. "Do you, Thomas McKenzie, take Clara Hartwell to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Tom said firmly, his eyes meeting Clara's with steady assurance. "Do you, Clara Hartwell, take Thomas McKenzie to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live?" Clara thought of her children's laughter echoing through the ranch house, of the security this marriage would provide, of the quiet strength of the man beside her. "I do." The kiss that sealed their union was brief and respectful, more like a handshake than a romantic gesture. But as they signed the marriage certificate, Clara felt a sense of completion she hadn't expected. That evening, they celebrated with a simple dinner at the ranch. Rosa had prepared a feast, and the children were giddy with excitement about the wedding party. Jake had made Clara a card declaring her the best new mom ever, while Emma and Tommy presented Tom with a drawing of their new family standing in front of the ranch house. "So what do we call you now?" Emma asked Clara as they cleared the dinner dishes. "What would you like to call me? Can I still call you Mommy?" "Of course, sweetheart. I'll always be your mommy." Tommy, ever practical, looked at Tom. "Are you our dad now?" Tom knelt down to the boy's level. "I'd be honored to be your dad, if that's what you want. Do I have to call you Dad? Or can I call you Tom until I'm ready?" "You can call me whatever feels right to you, Tommy. There's no rush." Later that evening, after the children were in bed, Clara and Tom sat on the porch swing, watching the stars emerge in the clear Montana sky. The easy companionship that had developed between them over the past weeks felt natural, unforced. "Any regrets?" Tom asked quietly. "None," Clara replied, and was surprised to realize she meant it. "You?" "Not a one. The house already feels more like a home than it has in 2 years." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Clara spoke. "Tom, can I ask you something personal? We're married now. I think personal questions are allowed. What was Rebecca like?" Tom was quiet for so long that Clara began to worry she had overstepped. Finally, he spoke. "Rebecca was vibrant, full of life and energy. She could light up a room just by walking into it. She was also impulsive, sometimes reckless. That's what killed her. She took a green horse out alone when I wasn't there to stop her." "Do you miss her?" "Every day. but I've learned that missing someone doesn't mean you can't build a new life. Rebecca would want Jake to have a mother, and she'd want me to be happy. She was generous that way. I worry sometimes that I'm not enough, that I can't fill the hole she left. Tom turned to look at her directly. Clara, you're not supposed to fill Rebecca's hole. You're supposed to create your own space in our lives, and you've already done that. Have I? Jake asked me yesterday if you were going to stay forever. When I said yes, he smiled for the first time since his mother died. Emma and Tommy are thriving here, and Tom paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I sleep better knowing you're here. The house doesn't feel empty anymore. Over the following months, Clara settled into her role as Tom's wife and the children's mother with surprising ease. She discovered she had a natural aptitude for ranch life, learning to help with the books, assist during calving season, and even ride well enough to help move cattle when needed. The children flourished in their new environment. Emma's natural leadership qualities emerged as she helped Jake navigate the social dynamics of their new school. Tommy, who had been quiet and withdrawn since his father's death, began to open up, especially around the animals. Jake, meanwhile, blossomed under Clara's patient attention, his serious demeanor giving way to more typical childhood exuberance. But it was the relationship between Clara and Tom that surprised everyone, including themselves. What had begun as a practical arrangement gradually deepened into genuine friendship and partnership. They worked well together, whether managing household crises or making decisions about the ranch. Their conversations grew longer and more personal, and Clara found herself looking forward to their evening talks on the porch. You know, Rosa said one afternoon as she and Clara worked in the garden, I was worried when Tom first told me about this arrangement, but watching you two together, it's good. We're just friends, Rosa. Partners. Rosa gave her a knowing look. Mija, I've been married for 30 years. I know what partnership looks like, and I know what love looks like. You two are heading toward both. Clara felt her cheeks warm. It's not like that. We have an agreement. Agreements can change. Hearts can grow. You think about it. That evening, as Clara helped Jake with his homework while Tom read with Emma and Tommy, she found herself observing their family dynamic. When had it stopped feeling like an arrangement and started feeling like a real family? The answer came to her during a crisis in early spring. Tommy had been playing near the creek when he slipped and fell, hitting his head on a rock. Clara found him unconscious and bleeding, and her scream brought Tom running from the barn. The ride to the hospital was the longest of Clara's life. Tom drove, while she held pressure on Tommy's wound, both of them fighting panic. In the emergency room, they clung to each other as they waited for news. All pretense of their practical arrangement forgotten. He's going to be fine, Dr. Martinez finally told them. Mild concussion, needs stitches, but no permanent damage. He's asking for his mom and dad. As they walked into Tommy's room together, Clara realized that somewhere along the way, they had stopped being two separate people helping each other and had become a true partnership. The love she felt for Tom might have grown quietly without fanfare, but it was real and deep and permanent. Mommy? Dad? Tommy's voice was weak but clear. Are you both here? We're both here, son, Tom said, and Clara's heart swelled at the natural way he claimed Tommy as his own. That night, after Tommy was settled at home with strict instructions to rest, Clara found Tom on the porch, staring out at the star-filled sky. Quite a day, she said, settling beside him on the swing. I've never been so scared in my life, Tom admitted. When I saw you holding him, saw all that blood, I realized that somewhere along the way, Tommy stopped being your son, that I was helping to raise, and became our son. All three of them are our children now, Clara said softly. Yes, they are. Tom turned to look at her, his expression serious. Clara, I need to tell you something. Her heart began to race. What? This arrangement we made, it's not working anymore. Clara felt the bottom drop out of her world. What do you mean? I mean, I can't pretend anymore that this is just a practical partnership. I've fallen in love with you, Clara. Completely, hopelessly in love. And I know that wasn't part of our deal, but I can't help it. Relief flooded through her so powerfully that she felt dizzy. Tom, you scared me. I thought you were saying you wanted out. Never. But I needed you to know that my feelings have changed. I don't want to pressure you, but I couldn't keep pretending that this is just a business arrangement when you've become the most important person in my world." Clara reached for his hand, marveling at how right it felt when their fingers intertwined. "My feelings have changed too. I love you, Tom. I love our life together, our family. I love who I am when I'm with you." The kiss they shared was nothing like their brief, formal wedding kiss. This was deep and passionate and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "So what now?" Clara asked. "Now we stop sleeping in separate bedrooms," Tom said with a grin that made her heart flutter. "Now we make this marriage real in every way. The children will be so happy. Jake asked me last week when you and I were going to start acting like married people instead of roommates." Tom laughed. "Smart kid. Takes after his mother." "Both his mothers," Clara corrected, and knew it was true. She would never try to replace Rebecca in Jake's heart, but she had found her own place there, just as Tom had said she would. As they walked into the house together, hand in hand, Clara marveled at the journey that had brought them here. What had begun as a desperate practical arrangement had become the greatest love story of her life. Not because it was passionate from the start, but because it was built on respect, partnership, and genuine care for each other's well-being. Sometimes, Clara thought as Tom pulled her into his arms in what was now truly their bedroom, the best love stories were the ones that grew slowly, rooted in friendship and watered with daily kindness. Those were the loves that lasted. 1 year later, Clara stood in the kitchen of the ranch house, flour dusting her apron as she put the finishing touches on Jake's birthday cake. The kitchen that had once felt too big and too quiet now hummed with the constant activity of a busy family. Children's artwork covered the refrigerator, school schedules were pinned to the bulletin board, and the large dining table bore the comfortable scars of daily family life. "Need any help?" Tom asked, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind and nuzzling her neck. "Just keep the birthday boy distracted for 10 more minutes, Clara said, leaning back against his chest. Even after all this time, his touch still sent warmth spreading through her. That might be challenging. "He's been asking every 5 minutes if it's time for cake yet," Clara laughed. "He's excited. It's his first birthday with siblings." Through the window, they could see Jake, Emma, and Tommy playing an elaborate game of tag with the ranch dogs. The sight never failed to make Clara's heart swell. Her children had not just adapted to ranch life, they had thrived. Emma had become the leader she was born to be, organizing elaborate adventures and looking out for the younger children. Tommy had found his confidence working with the animals, and his gentle way with the horses had impressed even Miguel, Tom's experienced foreman. But it was Jake's transformation that moved Clara most. The serious, withdrawn little boy she had met 18 months ago had blossomed into a confident, happy child who chattered constantly about school, friends, and his plans for the ranch when he grew up. "Clara," Tom said, his voice taking on a more serious tone, "I have something I want to discuss with you." She turned in his arms, noting the slight nervousness in his expression. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about adopting Emma and Tommy, making it official. What do you think?" Clara felt tears spring to her eyes. "Really? You'd want to do that? They're my children in every way that matters. I love them as much as I love Jake. I want them to have my name, my legal protection, everything. They would be so happy. Tommy's been asking when he can officially call you Dad instead of just acting like it." "And Emma?" "Emma told her teacher last week that she has the best dad in Montana. When Mrs. Peterson asked if she meant her stepfather, Emma said, 'No, my real dad, the one who chose us.'" Tom's eyes grew suspiciously bright. "She said that?" "She did." "Oh, Tom, yes. Let's make it official." The adoption proceedings were surprisingly straightforward. David's parents, who had never shown interest in their grandchildren, readily signed away any claims. The judge, the same one who had married Clara and Tom, smiled broadly as he finalized the paperwork. "It's not often I get to see such a clear example of a family choosing each other. Judge Henderson said, as he signed the final documents. "These children are lucky to have you both." The celebration that evening was small, but perfect. Rosa had outdone herself with dinner, and the children were giddy with excitement about their new legal status as Mackenzies. "Does this mean we're really, truly a family now?" Emma asked, as they gathered around the fireplace after dinner. "We've been a really, truly family for a long time," Clara said, pulling her daughter close. "This just makes it official on paper. Like when you and Dad got married. Exactly like that." Jake, now 9 and very serious about his role as big brother, stood up with an important expression. "I have something to say." The family quieted, giving him their full attention. "When Mum died, I thought our family was broken forever. But then Clara and Emma and Tommy came, and we weren't broken anymore. We were just different, and I like our different family." Clara felt Tom's hand squeeze hers as they both fought back tears. "I like our different family too," Tommy said solemnly. "And I like having a dad who teaches me about horses, and a mom who makes the best cookies, and a big brother who shows me how to be brave. And I like having little brothers who think I'm smart, and a dad who listens to all my ideas, and a mom who helps me with everything," Emma added. "Well," Tom said, his voice slightly hoarse with emotion, "I like having the most amazing family in Montana, maybe in the whole world." Later that night, after the children were asleep, Clara and Tom sat on their porch swing, a tradition that had become sacred to them. The Montana sky was clear and star-filled, and the only sounds were the gentle lowing of cattle and the whisper of wind through the grass. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if we hadn't met that day?" Clara asked, her head resting on Tom's shoulder. "Every day," Tom replied. "I was so lost back then, going through the motions of living but not really alive. You and the kids, you saved me. We saved each other." "I suppose we did." Tom was quiet for a moment, then chuckled. "You know what Miguel said to me today?" "What?" "He said he's never seen a couple more suited to each other. Said it was like we were made to be together. We just had to find each other." Maybe we were. Maybe everything that happened, losing David, losing Rebecca, all the pain and struggle, maybe it was all leading us to each other. "I like that idea," Tom said, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "I like thinking that our love story was written in the stars long before we knew it. Even if it started with the most unromantic proposal in history," Tom laughed. "Hey, it worked, didn't it?" "It did. Though I have to admit, when you said I need a wife and you need a family, I never imagined it would lead to this." "To what?" Clara gestured toward the house, where their 3 children slept safely in their beds, toward the ranch that had become their kingdom, toward the life they had built together through patience, respect, and growing love. "To everything, to the most beautiful life I could have imagined. No regrets? Only one," Clara said, lifting her head to look at him. Tom's expression grew concerned. "What?" "I regret that it took us so long to admit we loved each other. We wasted months pretending this was just practical when it was so much more. We weren't ready then. We needed time to trust, to build something solid. The love we have now is stronger because of that foundation." Clara knew he was right. Their love hadn't been built on passion or infatuation, but on daily kindness, shared responsibilities, and genuine care for each other's well-being. It was a love that could weather any storm because it was rooted in friendship and respect. "Tom, thank you." "For what?" "For seeing what I needed before I knew it myself. For giving me a family, a home, a purpose. For loving my children as your own. For showing me that sometimes the most practical decisions can lead to the most beautiful outcomes." Tom shifted so he could look into her eyes. "Clara McKenzie, you are the best decision I ever made, practical or otherwise." The kiss they shared was soft and sweet, full of the quiet passion that had grown between them over months of shared life. When they broke apart, Clara felt the same sense of rightness she had experienced on their wedding day, only deeper now, richer with the knowledge of what they had built together. "We should go in," Tom said reluctantly. "Early day tomorrow?" 5 more minutes, Clara said, settling back against his chest. I love our talks out here. 5 more minutes, Tom agreed, tightening his arms around her. As they sat together under the vast Montana sky, Clara reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. 18 months ago, she had been a desperate widow facing homelessness with 2 young children. Tom had been a lonely widower, struggling to raise his son alone while managing a demanding ranch. Now they were a family of 5, bound not just by legal documents, but by love, laughter, and shared dreams. Their marriage might have begun as a practical arrangement, but it had become something far more precious, a true partnership built on mutual respect and deepening affection. Clara, yes, I love you. I love you too. Simple words, but they carried the weight of everything they had built together, everything they had overcome, and everything they hoped for in the future. As they finally made their way inside, hand in hand, Clara knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as a family, as partners, as 2 people who had found in each other exactly what they needed, even when they hadn't known they were looking for it. The ranch house settled into quiet around them, sheltering the family that had been born not from passion, but from practicality, not from romance, but from respect, and had grown into something more beautiful and lasting than either Clara or Tom had ever dared to dream. Epilogue. 5 years later, the McKenzie family had grown by 2 more children, twins born to Clara and Tom, completing their family of 7. Emma had become the ranch's unofficial veterinarian in training, Tommy had discovered a gift for training horses, and Jake had grown into a confident teenager who spoke proudly of his different but perfect family. Clara and Tom's marriage had become legendary in their community, not for its romantic beginning, but for its practical wisdom and enduring strength. They had proven that sometimes the best love stories begin not with once upon a time, but with I need a wife and you need a family. And they all lived not just happily but purposefully ever after.